So this is the set of watercolour pencils I've got. So let us then take something like a red colour and we'll have a little play with that. Now obviously we want to see what these are capable of. So let's just make a start just to build some colour. And I'm going to make something very light here. So it's picking up the texture of the watercolour paper. So let's try something a little bit lighter. And let's try something a little bit darker. So I'm putting more pressure on there. So I've got some water in here. So what we all want to know is what happens when I put water on it, isn't it? So let's just get some water on there. Let's try the lighter one first, just to see what happens. So I'm putting a little bit of pressure on there. So obviously as you can see, it's not completely disappearing, those marks that I've made, at least at the moment anyway. Now let's see if I can make it completely disappear if I just keep putting more water on it. So yeah, if I put more water on there, I'll get rid of those marks, as you can see. Let's try this sort of middle one and see what that does. So I'm just going to go back and forth like this. As you can see, the colours coming out. And again, let's just see if I can get rid of that entirely. Just going to keep working on there. Yeah, obviously a bit more difficult to get. And the paper's actually starting to pick up a little bit as well because I'm scrubbing into it. Okay, let's try the next one. So already that's picked up quite a lot of colour, hasn't it? Let's just go over that a bit more. Yeah, so that's quite interesting. But can I get rid of those marks? Yeah, obviously a lot more work, but look what's happening as well in the area where I'm doing it. So now I'm sort of dabbing it, so that's sort of taking it off a little bit more, but definitely harder work. And let's just go back over that again. So you can see that it's left behind obviously a darker tone there. Okay, let's try these two colours together. So I picked out a dark blue, and we still got this same red colour, cadmium red. Let's just have a little play with these and see what happens with these. Okay, and let's take our dark blue. So you can see here the colours are mixing. I'm just sort of mixing these together now just to... Okay. Let's do it this way. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so we've got some effect there, haven't we? From the, looks like watercolour, but we still got all the pencil marks. And so now I've got a brown colour here, quite a dark brown. So let's just see what's going to happen here with some lines. Let's just do some squiggles. Doesn't matter. Okay, clean brush. Let's see what happens to this. So let us try that again. I've just got some idea in my mind. Let's do something like that. Okay, clean brush. And let's just do a part of it. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, how about we do some type of a field. Let's use that brown again. So we got some little details in there. It's an awful field. Right, let's use something like this, and let's just see what happens if I do that. So that's blended quite nice, hasn't it? It's come out okay. Now another idea would be to put some water first. Let's just put some there. And then see how it is drawing into it. So just take this green again. Let's start off here. So I'm pressing quite a lot, just for the example. Let's see what happens. I'm just going to keep the same pressure. So that's quite interesting. So working into that. See how that changes there? Right, let's take the same brown pencil. I'm going to dip it now into the water. Let's put the water there so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to dip it in. I'm just going to, and that's a very, very intense colour now coming out of there. Very, very intense. So if I just get all the water off. Let's see how that looks next to it. Yeah, I mean, it's changed the coloration, hasn't it? Yeah, so I'm just working in the same area. That's, yeah, I mean, it's like paint now. Right, now there's no water. So yeah, that's quite different, isn't it? And what else should we try? Let's try this red colour. So dip it in. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, very, very, very intense colour, just like paint. And let's take off the excess. You know, with this paper as well, for me to build up the intensity of that, it's quite a lot of work. And if I was to use a bit of water on there, yeah, I can get something really similar to that. Let's see what happens if I just do that with it. And yeah, I mean, it's similar, isn't it? Although I still do have, from where I was pressing with that pencil, there still is some excess there, which is quite tricky to get off. This one, by contrast, is a lot easier to get off. So there's, I couldn't see any marks there. So this now is a different bit of paper. It's not the same as when I was just using. What I'm curious about now is if I take, say I just do this. And just build up I don't know, like a little stock of colour there. So I could dip my brush in there and paint with it. So you can do that. Let's use this colour as well. So alright, so you can use it like if you didn't want any lines in it and you want it to use your pencils like watercolour, you can do that. So it works the same way. Right, let's try just blending a few sort of colours together. Let's just see what happens. Let's just do whatever, it doesn't matter. And let's just sort of do that and see how it looks. You know, it doesn't look like much at the moment. So these colours are not very intense, are they, at all? So there's not too much going on there with that. Yeah, so we just got cut off there. So let's get some blue in there. More blue. Let's run it into there. See what happens. So I'm curious now what will happen if I dip my pencil in water and I go over this, because this is now dry underneath it. So that is blending there. Yeah, definitely blending. What else could we use? Let's try this yellow. Yeah, so that's blending, has blended. That's interesting. What else can we use? Try the blue, let's try the green. So yeah, so I'm actually mixing the colour in this way. Right, so I just made a little sketch of some little cup type thing. See what we can do with this. Right, now I'm curious to get rid of this edge, so there's a colour that's coming out already with that. So that's quite interesting by itself. Yeah, that's quite interesting, isn't it? I like that. And let's go on to the shadow now. I'm just going over it, clean the brush, go over it again, clean the brush. Let's do all of this now. Just to see what happens, the point of making experiments. Right, and actually I could have made my cup a bit better, couldn't I? Yeah, see what's happening now because of that. Right, just stop that. Stop that bleed. Also mop up some of this as well. That's what I was trying to do, wasn't I? I was trying to make my cup better. Made a terrible job of it there, didn't I? Okay, it's still bad, but never mind. Okay, let's see how much I can blend that. Now I've got quite a hard edge, so I can soften that. So what do we have here? We've got an image now that has a watercolor effect plus also textures, you know, so the marks, so that could be quite useful. So yeah, so I think this is something worth noting as well, is that when the paper is damp, you just don't get that intensity of color. Whereas if I put it next to it like this, you get the intensity of color. And if I make it wet, then I get the intensity of color. But not when it's damp. But if you look at those three, you've actually got three different effects. Now what if I take some normal colored pencil, which is this one's from the same company. Alright, so that's that, and let's do like some sort of squiggle. Well, even this is interesting, so it's a little bit damp there, but you see even the normal colour pencil's reacting to that damp as well. Right, fine, that's that. Right, so I'm just going to take this is a watercolour pencil now. I'm going to go over this with it. Just curious what's going to happen to those marks underneath. Let's just do that. So here's a normal colour pencil, the same one. Now if I put some water on it, okay, it does take something off. It does take something off. Now let's see what happens here. So the marks from this red one at the moment, we'll see what it looks like when it's dry, are pretty much gone. So that could be quite useful. Yeah, that could be quite useful, couldn't it? See the effects? Interesting. And there it is without any water. Let's put a bit of water. So here's our experiments. That's all they are, just to see what they can do. You know, what their capabilities are. You know, to some degree. This is obviously just yeah, just having a little play around. So I hope in some way it's been of some use, just to see what you can actually do with them, and maybe, you know, hopefully you're going to take it a lot further. I think you could get some really interesting results to combine these pencils, for example, with normal pencils, and also you could use it for things like pen as well, maybe a waterproof pen, and you could draw over the top of that and sort of blend it in. Yeah, I mean, one of the obvious things that I can see with it is that there are textures left behind from the actual drawing, and then off that, then you're going to get your sort of colour that looks like watercolour, which this very much does, doesn't it? But you've still got part of the drawing there, as you can see here. Obviously you can't completely get rid of it, but then you start sort of getting into the paper, you know, so maybe there's some paper that is going to withstand that, you know, sort of scrubbing into it. But those textures, you know, maybe that could all be part of the effect of the work, because that's quite interesting. I'm not saying that my cap is good, but just as an example, it's quite interesting, the texture. So that's it. So yeah, you know, they're going to have their pluses and minuses, just to see the capabilities and then what you're going to do with them. But I mean, now that this is dried back, it's a very intense color, that one, and it's come out quite, you know, quite pure. So I find that very interesting, and also the capability of blending while it's wet as well. You know, you can do that, so that's interesting. So there we are. Hope that's been of some use.